Can minoxidil work for your hairline? Can finasteride really regrow hair? Can natty topical products actually work? The answer is yes. And here's how you do just that. I am AQBS and this is Back to the Barber. According to NASA.gov, the greenhouse effect is the process through which heat is trapped near the Earth's surface by substances known as greenhouse gases. Imagine these gases as a cozy blanket enveloping our planet, helping to maintain a warmer temperature than it would have been otherwise. Water vapor, which reacts to temperature changes, is referred to as feedback because it amplifies the effect of forces that initially caused the warming. Now, the flip side of this greenhouse effect is global warming. According to EPA.gov, the recent buildup of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere from human activities has changed the Earth's climate and resulted in dangerous effects to human health and welfare and ecosystems. Although this is an important topic overall for humanity as a whole, it's not exactly hair loss science. However, this greenhouse effect is actually relevant to today's discussion. One of the cons of being natty is the products, homemade or bought, are not as potent or concentrated as human ingenuity or lab-based solutions. Consequently, a great deal of my research in the last few years is to not only find natural resources that replicate lab-based solutions or that solve a problem, but once I do find them, study them, source them, test them on the skin, eventually using them only to try to then find ways to increase their efficacy or potency. One of the first things I did after using the tried and true method of boiling herbs or using low heat is the distillation method. It worked fine, but I needed a more concentrated and consistent method of extraction. Therefore, I bought myself a homemade lab kit and I slowly built it up so that I can try various ways of extraction. I learned a lot through this process, and overall, I have been successful in increasing efficacy of my personal products. I really didn't have a choice but to put my best foot forward because they really don't exist in the market for severe hair loss. They are working as planned, but at the same exact time, I have to admit that I will never be impressed with the time considerations. See, hair loss as far as male pattern balding is slow, very slow. By the time that we notice the loss, we have been balding for years. This will be apparent when you begin to regrow hair from vacant follicles. You will see how a normal follicle has 3 to 4 or more thick hairs growing out of it. And when you have one new thin hair growing in every newly awakened follicle, despite being totally bald previously, the aesthetics will still seem unimpressive. Natural restoration of follicles is nothing like a hair transplant where you transplant thousands of hairs with all of them already in the anagen stage. Natty restoration, or to reactivate latent telogen follicles, especially after years of dormancy, you should not expect every follicle to birth new hairs at the same exact time. Ironically, the follicles will reverse the way in which your pattern of hair loss was. First out is last in. I am still attempting to figure out why this is the case. As far as efficacy or concentration, the topical needs to be as potent and strong as possible without causing another issue. I guess that's for anything or anyone. We all want our meds to be strong as possible, but with the least amount of side effects. The strength of the product for hair loss restoration is not just about a sudden change or the regrowth threshold has to be met for it to be effective. It's because of 2 other reasons. The first is our skin is made to stop or inhibit absorption for our own protection. And the second reason is the scalp of a person who is suffering from hair loss is not a normal scalp. More than likely, especially in alopecia, there will be some sort of calcification, fibrosis, and extra compacted skin layers involved. Say for example, I don't know, a 35% efficacy on the lab-based solution. It's probably going to be a lot less than that using natty on a normal scalp. On a male pattern balding one, 10% absorbency rate will be pushing it. Okay, so efficacy matters in all hair products, but in male pattern balding and severe hair loss, it matters even more because you're not fighting against the common epidermis and the natural skin barrier. You are sadly fighting against atrophy and the degradation of the scalp environment. This is why many of you have had a hard time restoring your hairline or regrowing the crown, even increasing the thickness of your hair, especially the unplugging of follicles or reactivating dormant ones, not because human ingenuity products don't work or that natty can't work. It's because your scalp or the balding areas of it are not in a condition to accept and to absorb topicals, even the concentrated ones like minoxidil. This is a huge problem for us, but luckily for you, in this video, I am going to give you one simple tool or change that's going to increase the efficacy of your topicals tenfold, rather they're natty and or human ingenuity products. A year or so back, I was watching a video about herbs, and this young lady with an omega non-hair loss scalp was presenting this method she uses to exponentially grow hair and feed her scalp. She really did have beautiful tresses, and the before and after picture showed how much of a benefit this simple and cost-effective method has been. I look at so much hair content that quite often I get videos recommended like this and I usually ignore them, but for some reason it piqued my interest. The method was pretty simple. She demonstrated how she does something called the baggy method. What they pretty much do is apply some sort of moisturizer to the hair or serum on the scalp, and instead of just washing it out after a few minutes, they wrap it, apply a plastic cap, a shower cap, or saran wrap in order to lock in the moisture. They will then wrap a silk scarf over it to minimize movement and to lock in the heat. She mentioned in the video how it opens up the pores and follicles, allowing an increase in absorption of the products, all the while locking moisture in that stops breakage. That was my aha moment. 8 hours of sleep, and while my body is in this personal telogen state, I am technically performing a hair loss restoration process using this greenhouse effect. While most of us only use our waking hours for our regimen or protocol, I can add an additional 24 hours of restoration at just 3 extra nights a week. At that moment, I realized how this simple method can increase the efficacy almost tenfold of my homemade hair loss products. So I tried the thin shower cap, and then I tried the saran wrap method, and I realized for what I was attempting to do, it wasn't ideal. Both were too thin and too flimsy to really heat up the scalp like I needed it. The movement of the plastic could cause hairs to be pulled. Not good when you're already struggling with keeping hair. And the solution will find its way on my face or neck and destroy more pillowcases and shirts that I like to mid here, as the lining of the cap is not tight enough against my forehead. I needed something thicker, with less movement and more rubbery than plastic, and that's when I thought, you know what, a simple swimmer's cap. So here's how you can hack this greenhouse effect using this cheap and effective method. Wash your hair or shower. Get those pores nice and open. Decently dry it if you have hair. Apply either minoxidil, or if you're natty, maybe pine needle oil or pine needle serum. After applying your topical, get your swimmer's cap and place it on your head. You can do that for a couple of hours. You don't have to really sleep in it. If you're self-conscious about wearing the cap indoors or outdoors, I am too, truthfully. I just place a cloth wrap like a wave cap, a cotton or silk cap, and wear a hat. That's one method. Another method or use of the swimmer cap is you can do something like a derma roller session, apply your topicals, and after you apply these topicals such as minoxidil, simply put the swimmer's cap on. I promise you that you're going to feel a tingle. You're going to feel this vapor heat cloud using natty and even lap base, and believe me, you're going to know right away when the greenhouse effect starts happening. The heat from your head will act just like the Earth's greenhouse gases, forcing the skin to open up, pulling the topicals deeper into the hypodermis, but that's not all. The heat itself will assist in opening up the pores and promoting movement in the environment, quite opposite of the male pattern balding scalp, where everything is grinding to a halt. Movement and energy is restricted, so is circulation. Tension, plaque sludge, plug lipid system will slowly change with this method over time. To open them up is to increase absorption, but also activity. It's like dilating the wombs of the feminine follicles, okay? But there's another piece to this. After you do your derma rolling, and then you use your topical of choice such as rosemary, right, or anything else that you use, When you use the swimmer's cap, your absorption rate is much higher than when you previously used a topical dropper and walked away. But as a bonus, this method will also cause non-balding areas to grow fuller, thicker, and longer, covering the bald areas. So there's a bit of a cosmetic advantage here. See, but even with that, it's just not about the scalp topicals that target DHT inhibiting such as saw palmetto or finasteride, nor is just about using circulation boosters. I found something else even more amazing with this simple method that actually affects all of the mechanical physical changes or degradation, scalp exfoliation, or how you need to remove the layers of fibrosis and plaque from your scalp, which will then exponentially assist with the other two topically. What I do with the swimmer's cap is I will use a salicylic acid shampoo as another hack or version of this. Now, most people will get in the shower and shampoo their hair for a few minutes and condition it, then get out and dry it. I don't do it that way. I get my shampoo mix because I mix about 2 or 3 different ones together. I place this on my entire scalp. I get it nice and foamy, and then I place the swimmer's cap on top of it. If I need to leave, just like I mentioned previously, I will use some sort of scarf and hat on top. I'll walk around like that for 2 to 3, sometimes 4 hours, but I can tell you this. When you take that swimmer's cap off and you have some sort of product that removes skin layers or calcification such as magnesium/K2 serum, in my case a herbal paste, the skin of your scalp is going to be a much different color, probably like a flimsy whitish color. It will be dripping with sweat. The product smell will be much stronger and your entire head will feel relaxed and not tense. You will see patches of skin layers and a butter-like substance not just on the bald spots, but especially around the galea ridge where there is hair. Remember, the bulk of the calcification and plaque is around the galea ridge, which then creates a tourniquet for the top, creating a circulation bottleneck that we call hair loss. Around your hairline, everywhere there's plaque, dried lipids, embedded sebum, you will find that the skin will be whitened with layers that you can easily scrape off with your fingernails. Although I don't recommend that, as the scalp will be a bit sensitive and open. Get a clean metal comb. Like I said, you can use a lice comb. You can use a small cheap metal comb to slaw off the layers of scalp. This is not dandruff, but something else. It seems to be expelled from the follicles and the pores due to the extra potency, heat, and this greenhouse effect. It's almost like a sauna for the scalp where you're drawing out toxins or impurities and decreasing muscle tension at the same exact time. Imagine wearing this at the gym or during aerobics. I do. The compressed dermal layers and dried environment from androgens will be lifted due to the perspiration enveloping your scalp like that of the earth. On a side note, I combine this method with Balayantra to really break up the plaque. In conclusion, while you're releasing toxins, you are warming up the environment so that bacteria, pathogens, and yeast, anything that is causing inflammation or an immune response, will also decrease. This means less DHT inhibiting needed. Most importantly, the inflammation of this swollen galea ridge or wall subsides along with the muscle tension, which will help any type of gua sha relaxation method as well. If you are using ointments targeting acne or inflammation, how can this not help the efficacy? Remember, you are not creating a false condition or environment. Your job is to reset it to the previous state. In hair loss restoration, subtracting, not adding, is the secret. The greenhouse effect decreases, if not eliminates, many of the hair loss pathways or doorways. Hope this has helped. If you want to increase your efficacy tenfold, throw that swimmer's cap on for as long as you can take it. Implement the greenhouse effect and watch those gains multiply. Wash it often, rinse and repeat to undetectable and beyond. Like, subscribe, and comment, as iron sharpens iron and we only have each other. And remember, if I can do it, you all can do it too. Let's get you back to the barber.